All right, guys, so 5E is all about the gradient. Another way of describing a gradient is calling it a slope. So if you think of a slope, when you walk up or down a sloped ground, it's a little bit crooked. And two ways that we can describe a slope or a slant is a positive slope or positive gradient or a negative gradient. So when you think of a positive gradient, it's an incline. So you're walking uphill or going up a gondola lift if you're skiing, right? A negative gradient would be a descent or a decline, so it'd be going down. And we read graphs the same way that you read books, from left to right. So when I look at this line, if I read from left to right, the right end is higher, so it's an incline. Whereas I read this one, the right end is lower, so that's a decline, okay? So when I'm reading graphs, I read the same way that I read books. Always read from left to right. So when I begin to look at graphs, I'm going to follow 4 steps, okay? And my 4 steps, in order to find my gradient, are going to be, number 1, choose 2 exact points that lie on the line. So choose 2 exact points, should have an S there, on the line. So if I'm given this blue line here, I want to look at it and I want to figure out how steep is it actually sloped. So the 2 exact points that I have are at 0, 1 and at 2, 3. So by making those 2 points, I can count them very easily because they cross exactly on the grid. So I don't want to pick a point like this green one down here because it's in the middle of the grid and it's not very easy to count. So I'm going to leave that one off. All right, so step 2, draw a triangle to connect the 2 points. So I'm going to start with my left point. Remember, you're always going from left to right. So I'm going to start with the left point, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to draw a little triangle just so that I can connect my 2 points together. And we're used to drawing triangles now. So I've drawn my triangle. I'm going to count the rise or the fall. So from this point, I actually rise 2 units. And I'm going to write that down as my numerator. So when I talk about my gradient, I'm going to write down 2 as my numerator. And then I'm going to count the run. So my run is either right, well, pretty much we're always going to go to the right. Whereas my rise was up, my fall would be down, and then I always go to the right. So I'm going to run 2 units as well. And then that's my gradient, 2 divided by 2, or I can simplify that to 1. So this particular line has a gradient of 1. So the amount of steepness is 1 over 1 unit, or up 2 over 2, okay? Let's try another one. For the second example, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and highlight 2 points that are exactly on my grid. I'm going to start with the left point, and I'm going to draw a triangle either down and right or up and right. But remember, if I go up and right, I'm not going to hit my line. So for this one, I had to go down because the line is going downwards. So this would be a decline. So on my paper, I'm going to write down example 2. And since I'm going down and right, I'm going to set up my fraction. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going down 2, and I'm going right 1, 2, 3. As soon as I say down, or if I notice that it's a decline, the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I write it as a negative 2. Because that negative tells me that it is a decline. So my numerator is going to be negative 2, and my denominator is going to be the run, which is 3. And I can't simplify that anymore. I could also write it just as negative 2/3, but as soon as we see that negative, that means my line is going to be going downwards, from left to right. Okay? Let's try the next one as well. I have a vertical line. Oh, look at this. So already I know something about my vertical line. I know vertical lines only cross the x-axis, and this one happens to hit at 2. So I already know that that's my equation. So let's see if we can find the gradient. So number 3, we're going to find the gradient. And I'm going to pick 2 points on my line. And I can't draw a triangle. I have a little problem because I can't go right or left. So I really just go from up to down or down to up. So for this one, I'm going to set up my fraction. And it looks like I'm rising 2 or falling 2, I'm not sure. And then I'm not running at all. I'm not going left or right. So when I write down my rise over the run, 2 divided by 0, I'm following the same process, but 2 divided by 0, I can't actually do that. If you guys try that in your calculator, it'll say error. So I can't actually find a gradient for a vertical line. It is undefined. Every other line has a gradient except for a vertical line, okay? So we're going to practice using lines to identify 2 points and to write down our gradient when you guys get to class next time. Have a good night.